something that's been on my mind of late, and I would love to share these thoughts. It really began, this discussion began when I saw the power of what a collective unit brings, a collective gathering. Now, I define it as a gathering, not just as a collective, because a collective is a group that could consist of any amount of members for any amount of time. For some reason, that's not as powerful as a collective gathering, like a Woodstock event where it's not the grouping that matters, it's the fact that they're gathered at time and place with a certain energy. So I'm specifically talking about, when I say collective in this conversation, it's in context of the collective gathering. And gathering would be time and place. And in fact, the more diverse, the more powerful. If there's multiple groups, multiple ethnicities, then it makes it even more powerful. Now, what is this power? What is this energy? Well, when a grouping happens in time and place, what's different about an individual visiting a location is that the individual carries a purpose that's sole to them. But when two individuals come together and go to a location at a certain time together, they divide that purpose. So that if two people are visiting a certain country, and then one person decides that the purpose is different than the other, then they're going to be in conflict because their trip is contained with that purpose. For example, if one is visiting to study or is looking to explore the museums and the culture of a certain place, while the other is looking to experience the mentality and the opportunity of that location, they're going to be in conflict because their trip has a different headline. It's energized from a different source, and they won't be able to be congruent together in that visitation. Now, what about 3, 4, 5, 10, 1,000, 20,000, right? The more people in time and place in a specific gathering, right? For example, Woodstock. There has to be a collective energy, a reason why we're all together. And because there's so many people and they're so different, each one has their traits, their mentalities, their endeavors, and they come together anyway. Despite that, for this logos of a vision, an idea, it becomes shared. And then they all walk that same location with a shared energy of being there. And because there's so many people, it's more influential. Just as if 20,000 people demonstrate, it's more influential than if one person demonstrates. By their sheer numbers, they add power in each number to become the the final powerful form that will be what we're talking about, that collective energy. Okay, so why is this relevant? Well, it becomes relevant when we're at a collective gathering that doesn't have the proper sentiments of righteousness, of goodness of heart. Because we discussed how powerful it may be, that collective ideal that we're sharing in time and place, even a little bit of confusion could create a devastating sentiment where people are unsure of the clear value. And when you're not sure of the clear value, people will seek a more cheapened sense of value because they are there. So why are they there? So they need to find some sort of value. And the more confused the people are in that gathering, the more cheapened that sense of value is, where there's a craving of, like a headline in quotations of, why are we all here? Let's find a reason to be here. And just by that quick pursuit of finding a reason to be here, what results is some cheapened energy, which can be at times fatal because of how powerful it is. For example, in a riot or in a protest, the energy is so powerful by the collective that the individual starts to follow that energy to truly destructive forms of behavior that would be unthinkable if they were just walking on the street alone. They become embodied in that collective energy. So I guess the result of all this is that we recognize that we need, when we enter these collective energies, and the more people, the more powerful, we must be reassured by the clear value to be put in headline amongst the crowd, meaning it's truly understood. For example, a concert of 20,000, the value is very clear. We're here to enjoy music together, a specific artist. But when that gets blurred, and happens at times where the artist doesn't show, or there's confusion in that vision. For example, if there's free tickets and people just showed, there wasn't a collective energy to bring that togetherness, then mayhem can ensue. Because there needs to be a value of what's happening. And when the ideal value is not upheld, and another has to take its place, and just by the fact that it has to be sought out quickly because we're all here, will be something that's instinctive and broken, which the individual can't control by the fact that they're connecting to the collective. They can always leave, but as they continue to connect to that collective, they're at risk. So, what do we conclude? The bigger the crowd, the more the energy, the more clear the value must be. For if in a little confusion, things can degrade fairly quickly. Now, this is, of course, if it's attempting to be positive, but if the gathering is by default negative, then the results will be devastating. Now, how do we know what a proper collective is? Where the value is is quick. It's clear to the finger. It's a snap of the finger. This is why we're here. Everybody knows it. That's what we're doing. The second that loses its grip, second there's a collective, the moment there's a collective that doesn't have that, it's a little bit confusing why we're here. Some people have this idea, some people have that. It's not ingrained in the minds of the people. Because of that energy of the populace, chaos can ensue. So heed the collective and ask yourself, is my value clear in this gathering of time and place? And is their value clear of that gathering of time and place? And if it's true, it is clear, and it's righteous and positive, then there's nothing to be afraid of. For the collective will only bring positive and good energy. But if there's just a drop of confusion, it's not clear and simple, then you become a representative of that confusion, and you get dragged along wherever that new value that needs to be found goes. So heed the collective gathering.